Imagine a fog-thick moor at dawn, banners snapped by wind, a single sword thrust into stone, like a dare to time itself, and a kingdom's fate balanced on one man's name. What if I told you that the story everyone remembers of chivalry, magic, and a round table where equals swore sacred vows is both a brilliant invention and a dusty footprint left by real history? Stay with me. By the end of this journey, you'll either believe in legends again or see how history quietly borrowed them. This is the story of King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table, a tale folded by bards, polished by poets, and rewritten across centuries. We'll peel back myths, follow fragmented records, and chase the small truths at the heart of a giant legend. Expect betrayals, battlefield smoke, political gambits, and a mystery that refuses to die. Britain after Rome looks nothing like fairy tale maps. The legions were gone, towns sagged, new warlords rose where governors once stood. Into this unsettled landscape, stories were sown. Stories that blended memory and wish, conquest and consolation. Arthur emerges from these shadows, sometimes a war leader, sometimes a chivalric king crowned by magic, sometimes merely a name scribbled in a monk's notebook. Which is closer to the truth? Our earliest written echoes are brittle and brief. A few lines here, a passing mention there. Monks and chroniclers who thought in different categories than modern historians. They recorded events, but also moral lessons and lineage claims. Names mutate across languages. Victories become epics. When Arthur's name appears in these sparse records, it's never with a glowing soundtrack. Instead, it's a faint footprint in the mud. A leader, maybe, who fought in the fog of post-Roman Britain. Why did a possibly local warlord become the king of our imaginations? Because stories are survivors. In a world scarred by collapse, people wanted patterns, a single commanding figure who could unify the fractured past. Storytellers embellished, bards added romance and ritual, clerics folded in Christian symbolism. The Round Table, a brilliant plot device. Equality around a table that forbids hierarchy. A visual promise that the kingdom's strength lies in fellowship. And in story, symbolism often matters more than facts. Over the next parts, I'll trace the trail. The medieval writers who shaped Arthur into a medieval monarch. The archaeological hints that suggest a leader fighting real campaigns. The tangled web of sources from Wales to Normandy. And the fatal romance that undid Camelot. You'll see how politics, literature, and memory conspired to create a legend, and where a kernel of history might still be hiding.
The first spark of Arthur's fame flickers in the Historia Britonum, written around the 9th century. A monk named Nennius mentions a warrior called Arthur who fought 12 great battles, the last at Mount Badon, where he carried the image of the Virgin Mary on his shoulders and triumphed over the Saxons. No shining armor, no castle, no knights, just a fighter, half-cloaked in myth already. But a century later, Geoffrey of Monmouth would transform that faint ember into a roaring legend. In his 12th century history of the kings of Britain, Geoffrey painted Arthur as a majestic conqueror, a king who united Britain, defeated invaders, and even dreamed of ruling all of Europe. His Arthur wasn't a mere tribal leader, he was an emperor of destiny. And that's when history and imagination became inseparable. After the Norman conquest of England in 1066, Geoffrey's Arthur became political gold. The Normans, foreign rulers in a resentful land, needed a hero who tied Britain together under a shared past. Geoffrey gave them that hero. Arthur wasn't just British anymore. He was Britain itself. Noble, brave, divine in purpose. Soon, Arthur's court swelled with romance. Poets in France and England, like Chrétien de Troyes, wove in new threads. Lancelot, the doomed affair with Guinevere, and the mystical quest for the Holy Grail. Camelot was born, along with the shining idea of chivalry, knights who upheld honor, loyalty, and love. But the more perfect Camelot became in poetry, the more unreal it grew in history. Still, clues whisper beneath the myths. Archaeologists and historians have long hunted the real Arthur, and though no definitive proof exists, some patterns emerge. A theory points to a late 5th or early 6th century leader, possibly named Arturius, who fought to defend the Britons against Saxon invasions after Rome's collapse. Battles described in later legends may echo real campaigns fought across Britain, from Bath to Northumberland. Some link Arthur to the fortress at Cadbury Castle in Somerset, an Iron Age hill fort reoccupied around the right time. Nearby, villagers still call it Camelot. Coincidence? Maybe.
But the legend and landscape have entwined too tightly to separate. The Round Table first appears in 12th century French romances, yet its meaning runs deep. In an age obsessed with rank and privilege, a circular table defied the pyramid of power. No head, no hierarchy, just knights united in equality and purpose. It may never have existed in wood or stone, but as an idea, it was revolutionary. A world at war dreamed of harmony, and in Arthur's circle, people found it. Centuries later, even kings tried to claim the myth's magic. In Winchester, a massive wooden round table hangs on a wall, painted with the names of Arthur's knights, and the Tudor rose at its center. It's not ancient, but it tells us something profound. Every era has wanted Arthur on its side. So was Arthur a person or a reflection? Maybe he was both, a shadow of a real war leader whose deeds grew taller each time they were told. Maybe he was a wish that there once lived a ruler wise enough, brave enough, pure enough to unite a broken world. By the Middle Ages, that wish had crystallized into faith. The stories of Camelot, Excalibur, and the Holy Grail weren't history lessons, they were moral compasses. In every knight's quest, in every betrayal, people saw their own hopes and flaws. And as Britain evolved, through empire, reformation, and war, Arthur endured. The crown might change, the borders might shift, but the idea of Arthur remained, that from chaos could rise a king who was just. Today, Arthur rides again in films, novels, games, and modern mythologies. Scholars debate sources, storytellers revive the magic, yet the legend's endurance may tell us more than any archaeological dig, because whether or not Arthur lived, he lives on. Every age needs a Camelot to believe in, a place where courage and conscience meet, where leaders serve rather than rule. And maybe that's the real secret of King Arthur, not whether he was real, but whether we still need him to be.
If you enjoyed uncovering the truth behind Camelot, don't stop here. There's another ancient enigma waiting for you. Click the end screen to watch The Baghdad Battery. Did the ancients harness electricity? And explore another chapter where history and mystery collide. And if you love journeys like this, legends, riddles, and revelations, then do one small thing that keeps the story alive. Like, share, comment, and subscribe to Secrets of History, where every legend hides a truth waiting to be found.